The idea of contemporary art has historically implied a specific accommodation for a loose set, open-minded economic and political values that are mutable, global and general, sufficing as an all-encompassing description of that which is being made now. The flexibility of contemporary art as a term is no longer capable of encompassing all dynamic current art, if only because an increasing number of artists seek to radically differentiate their work from other art. The contemporary has exceeded the reality of the present to become inextricably linked to the growth and doubt of consolidation. At the same time, it has absorbed a particular and resistant group of interests, all which have become multiple contributing factors of the contemporary. The tendency is for artists to deny that they are part of something that is recognised and defined by others. In a sense, contemporary art has become a historical subject for academic work, and subsequently the term contemporary art has become a progressive term for artists and curators, or at least with the reluctance of one or more to identify with it, while remaining the convenient generalizing term for many institutions and exchange structures such as auction houses, galleries, and art history departments, all of whom are struggling to identify the implications of their use of the term. The contemporary comes to term with the accommodation fundamental ideas are necessarily evaded, for the item of the contemporary still carries the lost memory of a democratization of skill. Its grounding principles are based on universal potential. Kara Walker is a contemporary African-American artist who explores race, gender and sexuality, violence, identity in her work. Walker is best known for her room-sized tableau of black cut paper silhouettes. Walker's silhouette images work to bridge unfinished folklore in the antebellum South, raising identity and gender issues for African-American women in particular. Her nightmarish yet fantastical images incorporate a cinematic feel. Walker uses images from historical textbooks to show how African-American slaves were depicted during the antebellum South. In relation to Walker's work, I agree with Gillick's statement, as these works depict a time prior to the civil rights movement and prior to the contemporary art movement. David Hammons is an African-American artist, especially known for his artworks in and around New York City during the 1970s and 1980s, yet whose innovative work is continuously evolving. Much of Hammons' work reflects his commitment to the civil rights and Black Power movement. An example of this is represented in Spade of Chains, where artists employ a provocative derogative term coupled with the literal gardening instrument in order to make a visual pun between the blade of a shovel and an African mask, and a contemporary statement about the issue of bondage and resistance. This was part of a larger series of work entitled Spade. Spade is a print where the artist pressed his face against the shape, leaving a caricature-like print of the negroid features. Hammond's work deals with these cultural overtones, as well as blurring the notions of sense of public and private spaces, as well as what constitutes valuable commodity. An illustration of these concepts can be seen in Blizzard Ball Sale, a performance piece in which Hammond situates himself alongside street vendors in downtown Manhattan in order to sell snowballs, which are priced accordingly to size. This act serves both as a parody and a commodity exchange in a commentary of the capitalistic nature of art fostered by art galleries. Furthermore, it puts a satirical premium on whiteness, ridiculing the superficial luxury of racial classification, as well as critiquing the hard social realities of street vending experienced by those who have been discrimination against in terms of race or class. Taser Patniji is a Palestinian artist. Patniji's works have been read as conceptual, historical and political events that marked his country of Palestine, as well as collected the respect of human dimensions resulting in subjectivity. In recent years, the concept of emptiness, absence, breakouts sound like reoccurrences in his works. These works particularly focus on the representation and disappearance and death of beings in degradation forms, representation of themselves doomed to disappear. This is evident in such works such as The Absence or the Untitled series of Ink. The physical absence of Palestinian martyrs whose existence and identity match only through death, and only in posters of moral or closets of photocopied portraits, informative vehicles, disappearance, which had dotted the walls and doors of Palestinian cities. GH0809, or Gaza Houses 2008-2009, shows the aftermath of an Israeli occupation-launched war on Gaza in 2008 and 9. The war claimed the lives of many Palestinian civilians, which were mostly children. These works use a visual frame derived from the daily life being evoked by commercial advertising but with altered content. This contradiction between form and context is an initiation to contemplate the reality far from the familiar and beyond the slope of a journalistic report. Sharif Waked's videos, installations and paintings explore contemporary politics and history. He reflects on propaganda strategies and globalized images to conflict and remind the viewers of Islamic culture's rich heritage of literature and art. To be continued replicates the codes and conventions of a martyrdom video. The recording of a suicide bomber's last testimony prior to carrying out his or her operation. During the first decade of the 21st century, martyrdom videos became ambiguous signifiers of terrorism, which is what appears in this work to be a suicide bomber's final declaration, is in fact a famous Palestinian actor's narration of a story from The 1001 Nights, a classical text from the Islamic Golden Age. Here, Waked points to cultural myopia and recent outpourings of irrational fear of Islam, and reinserts an awareness of long-standing literary tradition in the circulation of martyrdom videos and images of fundamentalists and training camps, the main representations of Islam in the media today. Chic Point juxtaposes a fashion show with a series of documentary stills from military checkpoints, placing the spectator in a position that paraphrases the soldier's gaze. The Haute fashion line transfers marking from the body to the apparel, and in installing playful possibilities in the inherent relationship between clothes and those who are wearing them and removing them. The fast-paced catwalk is the setting for the denuding and loaded politics and gaze of the start and reality of imposed closures. Waker puts together two contradictory worlds in a powerful reflection on aesthetics: the body, humiliation, surveillance, and freedom. The clothing in the fashion show reveals various body parts, those being lower backs, chests, abdomens, and these all have peek-through holes and gaps and splits woven into the ready-made garments. The clothes are designed to preempt the daily and prevailing imperatives of Israeli soldiers who order the Palestinians to lift their clothes and expose their flesh, which is believed to be the hiding grounds for bombs as they cross the intricate and expanding network of military checkpoints. Commonly understood by the Israeli army as dangerous weapons, the Palestinian's body serves as a pretext for the burnt bundle which is within, and he may be observed. Ultimately, I have to disagree with Gillick's statement of contemporary art does not account for that which is taking place, as Hammonds, Batniji and Waked are all considered to be contemporary artists, and their works depict the realities for their specific situation, whether it be a historical or a figurative interpretation.